Good morning. On the west half of the country, good afternoon on the eastern half of the country. We've got people just starting to join, and we'll give just a few seconds here. Two questions for you as you're joining. Let us know where you're from. City and state would be fun, just to see where everybody is coming from. And then also, have you seen ChatGPT ads? Some of us are regularly on the paid version of ChatGPT, so it's the free version where they're testing those out. So we haven't gotten a chance to see. So anytime I have an audience that might be using the free version of ChatGPT, I'm curious if anybody's seen the ads showing up yet. All right, Houston, Texas, welcome. No ads yet. Okay, I have a feeling that's going to be the answer. I'll be surprised if anybody's seen them, but it'll be a pleasant surprise. Tom and I are both in Colorado today. Tom's based in Florida, but we got to see each other yesterday, so it's something we get to do every now and then. And we see Pewaukee, Wisconsin. I hope I said that right. No ads yet. And if you're just joining in, what we're asking folks to do is put in the city and state you're in. Hopefully we would know the state, but if it's some obscure town we've never heard of before, we might not know that. And the question is, have you seen ChatGPT ads? Something that started literally a couple weeks ago. And it's free version only. So those of us who are on the paid version don't get to see that very much. Concord, or is it Concord? I think it's Concord if it's in the Northeast, but maybe Concord in California.
Yeah.
I should not pretend to be a knowledgeable of cities across the country and no chats there. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm Ray Cameron. I'm the CEO at Intuitive Websites, and Tom Young is on with us too. He's the owner and founder. 21 years old, Intuitive Websites is, and Tom and I have been working together since 2008, and what we probably have 40 or 50 years of marketing experience, and in some ways feel like we're just getting started because of the crazy things taking place. And so part of the reason we're talking about these trends right now, sometimes it can be a trendy thing to talk about trends. We're not talking about being trendy. We're talking about trends that are happening. It's, I think, more important and fair to be on the trends circuit because there's just a lot happening. And I think more than ever, it's important to know what a trend is today because there are so many coming so often. But we want to talk about this year, things that we expect to see kind of last throughout the year. So Tom, feel free to jump in and I'll put the slides up on the stage.
Thanks, Ray. It's a pleasure to be here and see everybody logging in. Let's jump into these 6 marketing trends for 2026. These are your must-have marketing strategies in the age of AI. And Ray and I have been putting a lot of thought into this because we want to give you some bite-sized ideas that you can run with. I know this can feel overwhelming at times, but you know, it's okay. Have confidence and feel secure that if you follow these guidelines for these trends, then you're on the right track with your marketing. So let's jump into what you're going to get in the webinar. You're going to get the 6 marketing trends, which we'll go through those. You're also going to get an idea of what it means to transition from experimenting with AI to integrating AI in your marketing. We'll also talk about how to market to humans and also machines, or in this case, AI. And we know that for years, we've been marketing to Google to get found on Google, but this is a whole different thing on how we market to AI. We'll also talk about how you can use AI to connect with more customers, because ultimately that's what the heart of what marketing is about. And then we'll talk about just the idea of giving you confidence to navigate these challenges of 2026 and this changing landscape in sales and marketing. And yes, this webinar will be recorded. There'll be a video available. It'll be on our website and also on YouTube. So let's talk really quickly about how we pick the trends. So this came quite a bit from our insights from client work in 2025. So this is all firsthand experience that Ray and I and the team at Intuitive Websites have seen as we work with clients. We also did quite a bit of industry analysis using ChatGPT to get a sense of what does ChatGPT think of these marketing trends. We also did a few predictions based on the realities in the marketplace. And of course, we're big on common sense. Common sense gets results. And so a lot of what we're using here is common sense to approach marketing strategies that can better support the people that are experiencing your brand through digital. We'll call those digital users. And then we'll also look quite a bit at the data that's coming from Google Analytics, from HubSpot, and from other sources, and how data analysis jive with what's happening with AI and the changes in AI. So let's take a look at the trends. So let's start with trend number one, and that is basically that AI should be integrated into your marketing. And there's two fundamental ways that AI needs to be integrated in your marketing. It needs to be integrated in your marketing so that you are better at marketing. You use AI as a tool to be better at marketing, and you've got to use AI to get inside the mind of your customer and be better with the tactics that you're putting out to the world. And what's going to happen in 2026 is the people that can take AI and move it from a novelty to foundational to marketing are going to be successful. Those that don't are going to struggle. Now, Ray and I saw this years ago when websites first came on the scene and when Google, the search engine, came on the scene. We saw many companies have great success because they captured Google searches and all of a sudden got new markets and so forth. And other companies really struggled to get found in Google and to do SEO properly. And many of those companies didn't even survive. Well, we're in that same kind of revolution now. If you embrace AI and use it in your marketing, you're going to jump ahead of your competitors. In fact, there are two major points that I want you to take from this webinar. And I've kind of mentioned them already. In fact, we're going to repeat ourselves several times with the important points. And important point number one is integrate AI in your marketing or fall behind. The time is now to do that. And also realize that you are not just marketing to people, you're marketing and selling to people and machines. So it's that combination of using AI for your strategies and your tactics, and then making sure that your content and your thought leadership and so forth are set up to reach people and also AI bots and AI channels. So what does it take to become a pro with AI in your marketing? Well, number one is to realize, hey, we've got to have the tools in place to go from messing around with ChatGPT to actually using it and implementing it in our business. The best way to do that is to start thinking about what kind of marketing work we do that is repetitive, that perhaps I can use AI to handle that work, and how can I use AI to do better content planning? Now, we don't use AI to write written content that goes in front of our users, but we use AI to be more strategic with our content. And both of these bullet points are super important for marketers. The other thing to be thinking about in 2026 is how can we use AI agents and avatars as personal assistants to help us sell and market. And what that basically means is that in whatever role you have in sales and marketing, you can create AI agents and avatars to support you in that role. To make that happen, it's real important that you create a custom ChatGPT of your sales and marketing environment. Now, it might just be you as an individual or your team, but basically the way this works is you create a custom ChatGPT, you upload all the marketing content that's appropriate, plus all your meeting information, all of the summaries that you get from leadership and so forth. All of that is uploaded to a custom ChatGPT, and then this becomes the marketing and sales mind for your organization. So what you do when you do this is you supercharge yourself as a marketer and as a salesperson. There's so many different ways that this can happen. We don't have time to get into all of them, but I'll give you a couple examples. One is, let's say that you are a top producing salesperson and you're having, 5 to 10 meaningful sales calls every week. Those sales calls need to be recorded. They need to be uploaded to your custom ChatGPT, and you need to be mining that data and analyzing it with AI to find out things like, what are common customer objections that we're hearing? What are things that really excite customers about working with our brand? What are questions we can ask that move people closer to a sale? That's one example. Another example, which we've done at Intuitive Websites, is your entire marketing team should have a custom ChatGPT for all the marketing information to flow. And Ray, what we've created at Intuitive Websites is a fantastic tool to do that, where all our client content, all our client information, all our client meetings are uploaded to a central brain that we call Intuitive Rank. Ray, do you want to just kind of give people a sense of what that's about and what we're doing?
Yeah, I won't talk too much about the tool. I think you captured the main part of it. One of the things I'll say is uh, one of the things we noticed in 2025 was a trend of people getting on AI bandwagons, finding a tool. Hey, we want to use a tool and bring it into our business, and it was more about the tool and not about the operations. And so, what I'm hearing and seeing is this movement from testing a tool to an operational support.
Yeah.
And some of you may have done that, testing something out and it fizzles. Companies, I'm hearing about a lot of companies giving their team a Copilot license, for example, and it's a, hey, we're going to give our team Copilot, but no one adopts it, and it's a thing that's put out there, but it's not an operational system thing that makes us better. And that actually with our tool, Intuitive Rank, it's exactly that. It's a bunch of AI tools, but what it does for us is helps us build a platform that supports our model and our growth process, and the team is equipped to do better work because of it, not just be given a tool to figure out what it can do.
And it's based on this concept that AI can actually be an agent or an assistant, right?
Yeah.
So it goes beyond thinking of it as a tool that captures information and spits out data. Because one of the things our tool does is we have multiple agents that handle multiple tasks, but the agents can converse together to solve problems. So like, for example, we might have a client who is seeing a data trend that's bothering us and bothering them. Well, that agent can look at that data trend and then also look at trends in the industry, and then also talk to the other agent that's capturing all the meeting information. And those three agents working together can help solve the problem of what's happening with the data. And
Yeah.
this is an example of how AI supercharges your internal marketing. But keep in mind that in the near future, those agents and avatars are going to be on your website and they're going to be interacting with customers. It's already starting to happen. And they're going to interact with customers. They're going to actually be able to sell. They're going to be able to book appointments for you and so forth. So this is a big part of what you need to do for trend number one. And it's the reason it's our number one trend is get your marketing and sales integrated with AI.
Yeah, and Tom, I want to add one more thing in, because I think we'll spend a little bit more time on this first point than the other five. But you had mentioned earlier that we don't use AI to write content. And I know what you meant by that. That we don't just say write me content and it puts it out there. And we've kind of been evolving our language about this. When we're trying to describe how we use AI for content, the kind of the early version, what we said was human-led, AI enhanced. And it kind of explains that there is a balance there, but we added to it, and we put a human-led at the end of it. So it's human-led, AI enhanced, human-led. And the point there is that you have to put good things into it. You have to put your point of view. And so we do a lot of writing, and then we get the enhancement and refinement, and then we check the work, we check the facts, and then we make it come out so that it's written by humans. And so we're able to produce some incredible content. And we have clients say, hey, I can do this in 45 seconds. But if we could sit down and show them something that they asked to be produced in 45 seconds and what we've spent an hour or more on, definitely more than an hour on, I think they'd see a big difference there. And so it's that balance between, it's actually not a balance. It leans heavily on the human side of it, but it's the AI part that enhances that human work.
Absolutely. And not only can AI become this supercharged mind of your marketing and sales organization, it can also help you live inside the head of your customer even better. In fact, we know the best marketers on the planet are great at living inside the head of their customers and solving their problems. Well, AI can be a super support for you. And once again, all of that could be part of this marketing and sales brain that you want to use with AI to create for your business. All right. Let's go on to trend number two. Trend number two is the idea that buyer research is evolving. And we've got to be right on top with how this buyer's journey is changing. And what's happening, and this is supercharging in 2026, is that buyers are more anonymous than ever. And AI tools are helping them do that. They're just not going and interacting with our brand as much as they used to. They're using AI tools. But the good news is we can get in front of these buyers. And when we do, it's further down the funnel. And we're going to talk about that. So keep in mind, 79% of your future buyers are going to research anonymously before making contact. And we saw this throughout 2025 as website traffic started to drop and we saw fewer, unqualified people hitting websites. We actually saw some conversion rates improve because people on websites were more interested. So we've got to keep this in mind as we start putting our plans together for our site. So what has changed? Well, fewer people are starting their buying experience with a Google search. They may still be on Google, but they're leaning toward Google's AI mode or Google or Gemini, or they're going to ChatGPT. Now, keep in mind, when you go to Google, when you start to see AI results, you're going to see those either from Google's AI mode, which you can go to directly, or from Google's Gemini, is what they're calling it now, their AI mode. And it's real interesting that Google is probably, I don't know the exact data, but I would imagine Google's getting a lot more traffic for AI search than ChatGPT, which we didn't know if this would happen or not in 2025. But if you all have been watching the news, Google did sign an agreement with Apple to run their AI. So that's a huge win. ChatGPT did not get that business, Google did. And most of that comes because of Google's power and dollars, really. It came down to money. So keep in mind, this is where people are starting their searches. And if you have yet to do any shopping with an AI tool, try it out. It's absolutely fantastic. I mean, I've been doing more of it, for different things, and you'll get comparisons with other products. You'll get pricing. You'll get all kinds of information. And social media is still highly relevant and present. And people are starting many of their experiences through social media because that's the community where people can start their buyer's journey. So social media is a key part of this as well. We're continuing to see podcasts, webinars, and great value-added content move people to action. So as they move down the funnel, they will start to interact more with your content. And this is a big change because if you can imagine, just a couple years ago, people were still going to Google, clicking on an ad or doing a Google search to start to experience your brand. So the bottom line here is that less people in your target market will visit your website. And we need to see that as a good thing because your website traffic now is more qualified. So how do marketers adapt? Yeah, Ray, go ahead.
Orville joined us today and want to say thank you. It's great to see you. But he brought in a stat for us about people using AI first. He's saying it's 60% or 66% that are going to AI first. And, it's one interesting thing I just thought of is there's been a lot of talk about, is Google going to decline and is ChatGPT going to take that over? And when you look at the usage of those two platforms, Google is still way outperforms ChatGPT. And actually what's happening is Google is getting more interaction with from people, and it's not decrease, it's increasing. And so these AI tools that are coming on board are an addition, not a replacement for what people's behavior has been in the past.
Yeah, and it's interesting too that Google is driving their ads more than ever. And this year, Google has made their ads pretty much completely transparent. So the average user on Google will not know the difference between an ad and organic result. And go and do a test for it and you'll see it. And Google's doing this because they want revenue from ads. And they want people to click over from their AI mode searches to click onto an ad. So how do we adapt to this trend? Well, think of it this way. Your thought leadership earns you engagement. So more than ever, your thought leadership is the ticket into this AI-driven funnel. And then you've got to have exceptional mid-funnel content that motivates people to action. And that action might be visiting your website, right? The website visits now are more mid-funnel because people are more qualified when they hit your website. If you don't have an integrated CRM and email campaigns that go with that, then you're going to fall behind because your competitors are going to stay in touch with folks further down the funnel, and you're going to miss out on those opportunities. Also, what we're seeing with tools like HubSpot is that they are getting much better at tracking AI traffic, and Google Analytics is going to improve with that as well. And then what's more important now than ever is conversion strategies. So we used to talk quite a bit about growing impressions and growing website visits as a way to grow your business. But now conversion strategies are really the key to that, because getting that targeted traffic is more difficult. Okay, so we've got to be able to work that funnel. Now, trend number 3 is that the sales funnel is distributed. So not only are people using AI tools more, they're bouncing all over the place to experience your brand. Now, I want you to think about this trend in the way that this is your funnel. You control it. You control this funnel. So your tactics must change because things are changing in the market. So we've got to change our tactics. So let's jump into what this means. Trend number 3, a distributed sales funnel. I recently wrote a book on sales and marketing alignment, and it's funny because that book came out pre-AI. So we don't even talk about AI in that book. I have a follow-up book that does talk about AI quite a bit, but the two books go together because what AI is going to drive is the need for an effective sales team, right? Because if we don't have those people finding us in Google and finding us in the old traditional sales funnel, our sales team's more important than ever. And sales conversations are more important than ever. That data and that information, that analysis has to go to the marketing team, and they have to work together to own that funnel. If you have a large organization, we have multiple sales team members, and you have a marketing team, it's time to have joint meetings. It's time to get together and really focus on growing the funnel together. And stay tuned, because I'm going to give you more information on my book coming up. But Sales and Marketing Alignment was the book on sales and marketing alignment, which is exactly one of the things that's going to help you with this issue in this trend. So the sales funnel's evolving. We've talked about this, that buyers are using AI, but they're also more dispersed. And we're seeing that in the data as well. It used to be the data in analytics, you would see direct traffic to a website, Google Analytics traffic. Now that data is dispersing across social and AI sources, and this big category that's called not defined or other, which basically means they want to be anonymous. They're not telling us where they're coming from. And the sales funnel movement now more than ever is based on consent. That's why mid-funnel tactics are going to be so important. I mentioned the importance of integrated CRMs that work with your email campaigns, because email is a channel. It's part of your funnel. People research in their email inbox. And then campaigns and key messaging must be consistent across all these channels. So if you own a sales and marketing funnel and you have inconsistent and different kinds of messaging running across that funnel, that's going to confuse people. So key messaging must be consistent and, of course, of value. We did a whole webinar on campaign building and on messaging. Check out that webinar on our website. So let's talk about these things that move people through the funnel. And I'm going to start with mid-funnel CTAs. So if you don't have this, you need to be thinking about it and getting it going. AI-powered website chatbots. So these are intelligent chatbots that are they're the forward-facing part of your internal marketing brain. So if you created a chatbot for your team to use, this is the chatbot that customers use. It's powered a little bit differently because it's going to be powered with website content and your thought leadership content. You're not going to be putting team meetings in this chatbot, right? But this is a critical part of mid-funnel engagement. We are big believers in email newsletter subscribers. People read emails that give them key information. They want to subscribe to your email newsletter. Webinars, content downloads, and ebooks are still big winners in the middle of the funnel. Along with online tools and calculators, people are still very likely to use an online tool calculator on your website, and in some cases will give you their email address for access to that tool. And then, of course, demos and free trials are super important in the middle of the funnel. What you might find that's changing is that an AI avatar or agent might help with that demo, or you might have that as a way for someone to reach out to a salesperson as well. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. On that first point, AI-powered website chatbots, I want to make a point here on this, that in this age of AI, we often make a big deal out of AI itself and the tool and the technology. And I feel like I have this conversation where I think about it every day. And the point I want to make is that it's not just the technology changing, but it's the human behavior that's changing. So in the old days, a keyword and then a phrase, the evolution of search, but now it's people asking questions or making long statements and ending with a question. And so that idea of having an AI-powered website chatbots this is something that we have thought people should be doing more, but the adoption has been slow. I think for some part, it might be that they just think it's the same as the old chat, that it's just the same old thing. But this is actually mirroring the changes that are happening with chat GPT, is that it's a way on our website to engage and have conversation. It's not just to ask a question and get an answer. And so some of these tools are not just about the latest thing, but they're about matching human behavior. And that's what we're trying to do in marketing.
And Ray and I talk about this all the time. What's the future of websites? And it could well be that the future of websites is that it's going to be an AI agent. There's not going to be a website. You're going to go and pull up an AI agent to interact with the brand. I was on a website yesterday, and their chatbot said, "No agent available." That was because there was no one there to man the chatbot. So it literally said, "No agent available." That's the kind of experience people have been having with these chatbots. So it's going to take time for them to get used to this. But if you're an early adopter of this now, and you can start working it and get the kinks worked out, you're going to lead the field. You're going to lead your space. And if you can combine that with thought leadership, it's a good place to be.
Yeah.
Now, the bottom of the funnel. Oh, I want to mention one more thing at the mid-funnel CTA, that this is actually a really important bullet point. Offline events, seminars, conferences, offline meetings, things you're doing offline now are important than ever, right? Because people don't have that top of funnel the way they used to find your brand. So this idea of attending events and seminars and conferences, we're going to start to see all of those things come back, and they already have. They did in 2025. They're going to be even stronger in 2026, because people are going to really try to find ways to connect again with their customers, and people are going to want that personal interaction, right? So we call this a mid-funnel CTA, because if you can get someone to sign up for these events, right, now you have a new marketing contact in your database. The bottom of the funnel is still extremely important. So our thought about this is that, you can speak to an AI agent, you can chat with an AI agent, but at some point you want to speak to an expert who can guide you. And we like that language, right? That's a great language to use. Contact us is okay, or get started is okay, but speak to an expert says a lot. Speak to someone who can guide you with the issues you're having. Get an assessment, reviewer, audit. So this is absolutely so important in today's world, when people have so many options and they want to know they're making the right decision. Give people a baby step before they engage fully with you. And this could come in many different ways based on your business, but this is a fantastic bottom of funnel CTA. And then let people book a meeting with you with an app, right? The idea that they have to email you to find a time, let them book a meeting with you using an app or tool. They can find that on your website. And in 2026, but phone numbers are still important. People will call from their cell phone, and they will send emails outside of your website. And we still track submission forms as a key bottom of funnel CTA. Another thing you can do, if you have software, if you have something you want to demo, then give people an option to do a demo on their own, or do a demo with that expert that's going to guide them. These are winning bottom of funnel CTAs that you should have on your website, in your social, and in your email marketing, and so forth.
Tom, that demo thing in the past, I'm not hearing this as much anymore, but companies that were protective of giving too much for free. And the thing is, now with AI, you're not just competing with another website, you're competing with the ability for people to go out and essentially create their own demo. Like, they can just ask, how does this work, and get the explanation of it. Or they could plug in a URL from your website. And I've done this, where I'll read a blog post, and a competitor of ours will put something out there and say, hey, we're offering this service. And I'm like, something about that doesn't seem right. I'll just plug the email into ChatGPT and go, how are they doing this? And so there's a way to get ideas of what companies are already doing, because AI can interpret some of that language and tell us something that we may not intuitively figure out. So this is just kind of an addition to this bottom of the funnel. Anywhere in the funnel is just be thinking more about giving things away, because people are going to go find it somewhere else if you don't give it to them.
It's such a great point, and I want to elaborate on that just a little bit, because AI has just pulled the covers off of everything. If you think that you're doing something that has to be kept from other folks. That kind of thinking is just not relative anymore. People can find whatever they want. But there is a thing that we've seen with conversions, which is called, brain power or thought power. How much attention do I have to give to this? Can you actually help me with my brain power and take my attention away? And that's a great conversion point, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I put in this demo, let people have the option to do it on their own, or let them speak to an expert that can guide them and save them that brain power. People want to save that brain power. All right, let's keep moving with trend number 4. And this may be the first time you've heard of this, but for 20 years we talked about SEO, and now we're going to talk about answer optimization. And Ray hinted on this a little bit, and it's getting away from someone putting a keyword in to find a solution to someone putting in the pain, the problem they're having, the very specific problem they're having. So where people might, people needed to have some car work done or had repair on their car, they might do car repair near me. Now they put in the model of the car and the specific issue they're having and what they need to do, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to think of yourself as a brand that's going to answer questions to pain or to problems. And this has been at the core of marketing for years, but more than ever, AI is accelerating that. So what is an answer engine, and what does this all mean in 2026? Well, an answer engine is any place that your customers were going to go to get their questions answered. And it's not just Google anymore. It could be social. It could be their email inbox. It could be other websites that they visit, right? We've got to get a sense of where is that distributed channel and how are we going to get our brand found when people ask those questions. So what's an answer engine? Let's talk about this a little bit. Now, number one, answer engine is really what AI is doing and how it's redefined search engines, especially Google. Google basically AI has changed Google and how Google operates. It's become better. It's become better as a tool to give people answers. And then social media is like a community of answers. And there's different platforms growing, like Reddit is growing, right? And we've got to keep an eye on that because social channels are morphing and changing as they become a community of answers for people in their buying journey, right? Facebook's been a leading platform for years, but that could change. Same thing with Instagram. That could change. The CEO of Facebook this week is in a trial that could really upset what Facebook has been doing and so forth. So social's changing, but when you do your persona work and when you think about your target market, you really have to understand where are they in social and how do they use social to get answers. And I mentioned this a couple of times, but email inboxes are also a place where people go to get answers. So when we think about an email campaign, a lot of us think of it as direct marketing, right? I'm marketing to someone and I want them to take action. Well, think of it another way. Think of it as like if your email is in their inbox at the right time and you're answering questions for them with your email, then that's likely to get some action because users aren't thinking about your direct marketing. What they're thinking about is, I got to solve a problem. I got some pain. I got an issue I need to deal with, or I want that. When the email's in their inbox, they're likely to act on it. And then we mentioned the rise of the AI agent, and Avatar is an answer engine. Once people understand how they can use these agents and these avatars, they're going to gravitate to them in the coming years. So what's an AI answer engine? It's a valuable resource for humans and for AI because all AI is trying to do is answer that question, right? So we've got to have the content on our website so that AI can answer the question thoroughly and properly.
Tom, a thought came to mind in the last section, but I think it highlights here even more. There's a health club up the street from me that I really want to join. And looking at the budget, do I want to spend on this? And I was a part of it a few years ago, and I was curious what the cost of it is now. And the first time when I belonged there, you couldn't get it online. You had to go in and get the whole sales pitch. And so I got on this time and checked to see if I could find the price, and it was on there. And I was surprised by that because I knew their sales approach was get them in front of a salesperson and then let them close the deal. But what I thought about, and I've done this both in business and personally, that if I want a price for something and the company isn't being transparent, I'll just ask ChatGPT and Claude actually more. I'm kind of shifting over to Claude more, and ask how much does it cost to join Villa Sport, and I'll find the answer in Reddit, and Reddit will be a thread about, hey, I'm looking for a health club in Colorado Springs, and somebody will start comparing prices, and then I've got the answer there. And it goes back to that, like, if you're not giving it away yourself, people will go find it somewhere else. If they go find the answer on Reddit, they're already gone from your site. So make your site sticky.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let's move on to the next trend, brand authority.
Tom,
And
hey, Tom, real quick. Somebody asked a question, and I love this question.
sure.
Lonnie, thanks for posting this. Regarding answer engines, does this imply that one's website needs to have virtually all the knowledge of the firm? I've got some thoughts. And so there's, we're going to talk about thought leadership in a minute. And we don't want to, volume of content is no longer what you should be focusing on. It's the depth of content in that thought leadership. And so one thing to your answer is just to point out, like the word you said, knowledge. And knowledge is more important than information. And I think in the past, and I think back to 2012 when the HubSpot strategy, and as an agency, our strategy was to sell 16 blog posts a month. And there wasn't a lot of there wasn't as much thought about humans as there was about the way you get found is by having a bunch of content. But now the depth of that content is more important than the volume of the content. And Lonnie, to now go even more direct to your question, is this idea that a chat bot on your website is an engagement and getting answers from you. If you're giving 10% of the knowledge about your company, then they're only going to get 10% understanding or have the ability to do that. And so, I mean, this is a tough question because you think about all the knowledge of the firm, like that is a lot of knowledge. And how possibly can we do that? But I think instead of thinking of not the amount of the knowledge, it's the importance of the knowledge, and communicating the most important things first, and then building that over time. And don't think about building content, think about building that knowledge. And then
Yeah.
Tom made the point too, like, what's a website going to be in the future? Maybe it's just an agent, and then we have to be our own LLMs and have our own brains in there, and our interaction is letting people get inside our brains and our heart and our vision, really, because it's not just words, it's thought leadership. And that part of that thought leadership is passion and vision. And
Yeah.
the more we can express that, the more our audience can access that and engage with us in the modern way that they're doing that.
It's such a great question. And I'm going to go just a more concrete example. So let's say you're a service provider, any area, you're a service provider. Service providers, they have to be thought leaders. That's why you go to a service provider. They're giving you a service because they know how to do that service. So you want to have a website that's loaded with content about how you do that service, how you provide that service, right? And then you will put some guidelines around how your avatars interact with first-time customers, right? Just like you might offer a free 30-minute consult or a free hour-long consult for your initial meeting with the customer, you could do that with your avatars as well, right? But that's the thinking, is that if the avatar doesn't have that information, they can't offer that free consult. That's part one. Part two is you want the AI engines to have that content on your website best aligned with the answers they need to give to that researcher. So let's say you're an attorney and you're based in San Francisco and your specialty is tax resolution. And maybe you do tax resolution for high-tech companies. You're super expert at that. Well, what do you think is going to show up in AI searches when someone asks a question? How do I deal with this tax issue? I'm a high-tech company based in San Francisco. They're going to use your content. Where else would the AI agents get that information, right? And that anonymous researcher might then go to the AI agent when they hit the website and go a little deeper, and then it'll end up in a call with someone. Now, if you're a product-based company, what that means is that your products on your website need to have a ton of foundational content about the product, which you would want to do anyway. Why wouldn't you do that, right? And then that foundational content about the product will also get picked up. Now, if you are a reseller where you're selling other people's products, resellers are going to extreme lengths on that right now. If you go to a website, Sweetwater Music, go look at what Sweetwater Music does with all of their music gear. It's incredible. I mean, their product pages are tons of content on every product, including videos and competitor comparisons and so forth. They're all doing that because it's driving AI results.
Yep.
And yeah, let's come back to trend number 5, which is brand authority.
I'm actually going to hold. I'm going to hold for one more minute. We have another question. Is that okay?
Sure.
Yeah. So Lonnie had a follow-up question, and I think we've got time, Tom. I think we have 2 more points. So
sure.
Camping out on this topic, I think this is a really important question too, and it kind of expands on this trend. Tom talked about answer engines. That's what the title of this trend is. Another term that we use with this is SEO being search everywhere optimization, and answer engines are a lot of different things right now. But the question here is, I'm guessing these engines are like walled gardens, right? And so a walled garden is, we talk about LinkedIn and Facebook a lot being walled gardens, and what it means is that those platforms have become more and more selfish. In the past, you could share a blog post and link to it, and people would come over to your website. We want to get them into our old school funnel, come to our website, move from awareness to decision using our content. But now these platforms have become more and more selfish, and I think are becoming more and more selfish all the time. And that walled garden means, like, come in and get information from us, but we're not going to let you leave once you get there. And so that means if you want to be found there, no longer can you bring a link to your content. You have to actually put your content or your knowledge in those platforms. Otherwise, they're not going to find it because they're not going to lead to your website. So great question, and I love it. And I think you're right too, that the AI platforms are also walled gardens, in that you search there and they don't care if you leave or not. They just want to, like, they're there to give you the answer to your question. And if you find what you need, you don't need to leave. And so one of the impacts this has is that we know less about what our audience is doing, and that 70 to 90% of the time they're searching before they ever know us. They're learning a ton out there in those walled gardens, and they have to intentionally step out of there and pursue another way to get that knowledge. And so there's all kinds of implications about that with what content we write, going back to your first question, and how we write it. And there's all kinds of impact from that. Okay, I'll go get you back on the presentation, back on stage here.
Yeah, let's talk about trend number 5, which is the increasing importance of brand authority. Brand authority was always important, but now there's been a transition from top of funnel traffic to middle of funnel thought leadership, and that begins with brand authority. So let's jump into it. Content must meet user intent, be genuine to your brand, and move buyers to action. And I want to talk a little bit about genuine to your brand. What does that mean? Well, what that means is that people can experience your brand through your digital content, through your written content, your graphics, your videos, your images. We've got to get away from things that don't accurately represent the brand. AI needs that, and people that are going to find you in different channels need that as well. And those are the things that move buyers to action. We call it matching user intent and using natural language, using the language at your company. There's another way to look at this as well. In fact, Ray was talking about the concept of walled gardens, is you've got to influence the community that is in that channel. And part of this happens because people do crave leadership and connection. And what I mean by leadership is they want to be loyal to a brand. They want to know that that brand's important to them. And then they want to connect with that brand. And they do it anonymously on their own first before they actually reach out. And it's super important for us to understand that. Then they will go forward with your brand, and they're looking for that long-term relationship. They want a partnership built on trust. They want to come back to you. One of the key ways to make this happen is you're going to have a partnership with someone who can write content. Now, Intuitive Websites does this. We have content writers on our team. But the takeaway for you is most companies don't have natural content writers at their business. This is something that you're going to probably have to outsource. Now, in today's world, a content writer uses AI to supercharge their content writing, but not to post AI content. That right? And so you have to have a partnership with the writing team to really get your brand out there. And then we've got to think about blogs, videos, and social posts. Those are really at the core of what's going to be on your website and in these different channels. Keep in mind that webinars and long form content are fantastic. What Ray and I do with these webinars is not only do we present it to you live, we also record the webinar, we upload the webinar to YouTube, we put a transcript of the webinar in an AI tool, and we create blog posts from this webinar. And we also create another video that's my avatar reading the webinar content. So we have all these different ways to share our thought leadership. By the time we're done with this webinar, we've got 4 or 5 or 6 different ways to share the content, not to mention posts in social and highlights of the webinar and so forth. This is the kind of thing that all businesses can do. And it's a way that they build their brand authority, and share thought leadership. So let me summarize it with this, right? Using AI is not thought leadership, but your content powers AI. So using AI alone is not going to give you thought leadership. It'll make you a better writer and a better marketer. It doesn't give you thought leadership. But when your content powers AI tools, that gives you thought leadership. And those AI tools can reside on your website, can reside at your company, and can reside on all the public using AI models like ChatGPT and Google's AI mode.
Tom, on the building a writing team, I just want to say to the audience that if they're like me, you get overwhelmed by all this stuff in the world and the AI and all those things. And I think what we're talking about right now, all the things that you could do for marketing, I think it can feel overwhelming. So this point about writing and having a writing team, just to reinforce that not everybody is a natural writer, but everybody has thought leadership. And some of the people that I read and listen to are a little snobby, and I think I say that jokingly. I think it's in a good way, because I like knowing that I don't use AI to write. If I'm going to write, I want it to be purely my thoughts, and I love that. I love the purity of it. But those people are probably natural writers, and they're typically people who are writing a ton. But I'm not that person. But I have thoughts that I want to get out to the world, and right now I write less than I'd like to, but most of it is written by me, and I get some support from AI. But I think there's more in my brain that's valuable for our audience to hear than I can do on my own. And so I am finding more and more that this is kind of that human-led, AI-enhanced human-led, that if I can get my thought leadership out, then that AI-enhanced, it's just taking my thoughts and making it more precise, and sometimes adding to it, and then the human-led follow-up to it. I'm seeing something that is me that comes out of it. And so just that volume of things that you can do in marketing, look for ways to help, because it can be overwhelming, and there's resources for you to get help with, and that can be other people helping you write.
Absolutely. And writers today should be up to speed on AI. They should understand how that all impacts your marketing. Ultimately, we are optimizing for humans and machines, and these guidelines that we're presenting today will do that. This will give you brand clarity, which is super important. And brand clarity is built on not just what you do, but who you do it for and why your brand is important, right? And authority matters more than ever. It's key that all of this data is structured properly on your website. We will probably do another webinar on how you do that on your website, but you want to give some thought to use structured data on your website, so that it's in the right place in your navigation structure and so forth. And as I mentioned before, content has got to be highly aligned with user intent, which has to be really clear. Why are people on this web page? What are they trying to accomplish? So one of the things that AI is driving, and users have been driving this for a long time, but it's the idea of bite-sized written content and videos. So one of the ways that you can start engaging people is to have highly impactful content and videos loaded with value, but that are fairly brief, whether it's a social post that's really impactful, or a video that's only 90 seconds long that's super impactful. This is something that must be part of your content strategy, and also goes a long way to building brand authority. And don't use AI to build videos for the sake of building a video. If you're going to use AI, make sure that AI is not getting in the way of your message and the value of that content. Because we're marketing, as I said, to people and machines. And that value matters a lot more than producing a lot of generic content. That's why we don't want you using AI to produce content. Video is not optional for reach in the funnel. Video on your website, video on YouTube is super important, highly important. And keep in mind that most videos are still watched on social media. I still see a lot of videos on home pages of websites. And I just want to encourage you to put those videos in a resources section in your website and focus on videos in social media. That's where they're going to get seen, especially YouTube. And then try tools like HeyGen, because what's happening right now is that video avatars and chatbots are growing in use, and they're starting to be combined with video as well. And I do think that video avatars have a place in your thought leadership, because you're getting the same message out there for the person that wants to watch a video, but you don't have the production costs of producing that video. And it looks like we have another question. YouTube has been swamped by a tsunami of AI slop. How do you cut through all that? That is something that has really bothered me. In fact, I'm a musician, and if you go to tools like 11 Labs, you can create original music there that is mind-blowing. I mean, it's just as good as music that you hear from best-selling artists on Spotify. So I'm not sure of the answer to that. I do know that valuable content has a way of reaching people. Mm-hmm. And people also have a way of filtering through junk pretty quickly. Yeah. And my hope is that, you know, some of that will start to die down over time.
Yeah. And Tom, I think you answered this question right before you intentionally answered this question. And it was the idea of like putting the thought leadership into the video. And this kind of goes back to a point that I made earlier. AI video is a tool. And if we just get caught up in the tool, we're just chasing the latest trend. And we have to look at how does the latest trend help me in my marketing, and then internalize it and have it be something that supports your brand. And so if an AI video is there for the sake of being an AI video, then that's the slop, I think, Orville. And so if you're delivering thought leadership, meaningful content for human beings, then hopefully the algorithms can see the difference and they're giving you that priority.
Absolutely. Well, let's go to our final trend, which is trend number 6, omni-channel marketing. And some of this has been coming through as we've gone through the presentation. But the point here is that you've got to meet your target market where they are. And the best marketers will have omni-channel marketing to do that. The idea of having a website that's found on Google, that's one channel. And it's great. You got to cover that channel. It's a big one. But there's lots of other channels. So let me give you some pointers on how to do that. The key thing here is that not only are we going to market to different channels, we're going to connect the dots across the channels, and we'll have an integrated and coordinated omni-channel marketing campaign that will be reported upon. What is a channel? Well, it's a place where your personas read your content. And this is something that we've got to watch very closely, because just because it's a place where you want to go doesn't mean your customers are going to go there. And we've talked about social, we talked about these different channels. We've got to be there in front of these channels. How does your target market get information? When you do your persona work, let's be really good at understanding where they go to get this information. And keep in mind that content on the channel will be either video, it'll be graphical content, or actually written content. And you want to do unified marketing across channels. And what that means is that your key value propositions, your key campaign statements and messaging must be consistent across channels. This can all be reported upon. And we're still working on getting really good reports for how people are using AI, but it's going to come together, and it's starting to come together. But you want to have ways of tracking these anonymous users as they interact with your brand. Google Analytics is still the gold standard for digital marketing reporting. And we're predicting that over time, they're going to do a lot better job of tracking AI, because they want people to know how their users use AI so that they can sell more ads. And then, of course, all your KPIs from your digital marketing has to be adjusted because of this omni-channel marketing. So if you have unified messaging across channels, it's going to be easier to track what works and what doesn't. If you have your unified tracking in one central location like DataBox, that's going to help you understand this as well. Currently, we recommend Google Analytics 4 and HubSpot reporting and have that drop into DataBox or a tool like that. Then it'll help you see that cross-channel attribution, help you uncover who's anonymous, and it'll help you get sales and marketing and strategic alignment, because you can start to set KPIs for the numbers of sales meetings you have, and you can understand how those sales meetings relate to what's happening across your channels. An example of this might be LinkedIn, right? So you may find that your LinkedIn channel is doing fantastic for lead gen, and then you can track, well, the folks coming from LinkedIn, how strong a customer are they? How well qualified? How do they interact with the sales team when we actually get on a sales call? And it's been a great thing for marketing to see the growth in qualified leads from different channels other than just Google. And email, of course, is still super important. And then you can use your AI mind, your custom ChatGPT tool to mine all that data for insights and trends. And in Intuitive Websites, we've created a custom tool that does that, and it connects to HubSpot and Google Analytics to make sure we can track all of that. And then finally, I'm going to leave you with one bullet point, which is what we opened up with, is get ready for AI ads. And this is a wild, wild west. Watch it and stay in touch with us, because when those ads become available, you can be a pioneer, you can get in front of a lot of new customers, and more importantly, you can get those ads at a discounted rate because you're early.
Tom, we have
let's take some action. Let's take some action. We're going to start to wrap up. If you have a question, make sure you put it in the chat bot. And also, here are the 6 trends that we just covered. We'll make these slides available and the webinar recording as well.
Tom, real quick before anybody leaves, this last question is one that if you stick around and I have time in the last 3 minutes, I have a free offer to throw out there. So Tom, do your thing real quick, and then I'll show you what.
Yeah, this is how you can follow up with us, and we can dive deeper. There's a ton of information in this webinar, but we can set up a free consult and dive deeper into your brand and your needs.
And I'm putting up in the screen, I think it should show up here in a second, and I'm also going to put it in the chat, a way to schedule a meeting with Tom. We do some assessments, website evaluations, and the thing I'm going to offer is actually, do I have time? Okay, I have time. Note Tom's email address, Tom at Intuitive Websites, and what I'm going to offer is if let me get it up here. I hope I can get it up in time. So the question, Tom, why don't you read the question, and I'm going to try and pull up.
How do we discover where our ICPs are going to read? And that's a great question, and you can do that. One of the ways you can do it is by asking them. You ask your target market, where do you take in information? But we do have tools in Intuitive Websites to help you find that out.
So here's the offer. If you have a question about where your audience hangs out, email Tom and just give us a description, natural language, tell us who your target audience is, and we will send you a report back from a tool that we use called SparkToro. But I just defined the target audience as a test here: affluent Denver luxury home buyers and sellers. This is for a high-end realtor, and it shows that the audience of that realtor spends time on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and then it shows at what rate they spend it compared to the rest of the industry. So if you have a question about your audience, send us the description of one of your targets and we'll send you a report back.
That's a great offer to wrap us up, and reach out anytime, of course, with your questions.
Thanks everybody for joining. Glad you could be with us today.